used to be somebody. A husband, father, damn good detective. That was a long time ago. Back before my world cracked open and swallowed everything I cared about. 10 years. That's how long it's been since my son was killed. Since some faceless monster took him from me and left nothing but silence and a case file that went cold faster than I could ever accept. 10 years since I watched my family collapse. Since I lost everything that gave me a reason to wake up in the morning. The drinking started not long after. The city chewed me up and spat me out. Lost my job. Lost my wife. Hell, I lost myself. I had hit rock bottom, and then I found Eastheaven. A kind of small town that's quiet on the surface, but has its own shadows lurking under all that stillness. Those shadows started to come alive again, this time in the form of child murders. That's how I got pulled back in. Called myself useful again, if you could ever call it that. I've thrown myself into finding the bastard behind it all. Whatever it takes. I know people whisper about me. Say I'm a broken man with a death wish. Maybe they're right. I stood at the edge of the woods, cigarette burning down to the filter. The sun was dying again, bleeding out behind the tree line, and all I could do was stare at it. 4 kids. 4 innocent lives snuffed out in 3 months. My hand shaking just enough to remind me how much I was losing this fight. Faces of dead children blurred together. Their lifeless eyes staring up at me every night when I closed mine. I was starting to feel I could never wake up from this nightmare. The walk back to my car was a slow march, my boots crunching on the gravel. Then I heard him.
Detective Harrison.
I turned, and there he was. Sam Archer, the boy who lived across the street from one of the victims. 11 years old. Pale blue eyes that seemed way too big for his face. That kid looked like a ghost himself, like all the light had been drained right out of him. Not that I could blame him. "What you doing out here, Sam?" It's late. Shifted on his feet, holding something in his hand. A piece of cloth, dark, crusted with what looked like dried blood. My pulse skipped. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of something close to hope. I took the cloth, careful not to let my hands betray the sudden tremor that passed through me. You didn't touch anything else, right?
No, sir. I thought you should have it.
There was something about the way he spoke. Something that didn't sit right with me. But I pushed it aside. He was just a kid. He just lost his friends. I put my hand on his shoulder, trying to steady my voice. You did the right thing, Sam. He gave me a small, almost shy smile, and then he was gone, walking back down the path toward town. I watched him until he disappeared into the darkness. That gnawing feeling still scratching at the back of my skull. It was about 2 weeks later. I had hit another dead end. No prints, no DNA. Nothing to tie that bloody cloth to anyone. I was drowning in empty leads and false hope. Nearly convincing myself I'd never catch the son of a bitch responsible for this. People leaving Eastheaven and the mayor was breathing down our necks to catch this maniac. Weeks of sleepless nights. My head full of grim theories, and for what? Eastheaven was sinking deeper into fear. Kids snatched away like leaves caught in the wind. Each life gone, hollowing me out further. I couldn't give up. I wouldn't. Sat down at my desk in my small office, fixing my eyes on the phone in front of me, almost daring it to ring, and all of a sudden it did. It was Sheriff Donovan. "Anything new, Sheriff?" I said, my voice gravelly from exhaustion. There was a pause, then the sheriff's voice, strained and quick.
"You? We've got something. Somebody spotted a boy chasing another kid into the old barn on Route 17. They heard screams, Hugh. A child screaming."
My heart stopped, then dropped like lead into my stomach. Shot up from my chair, my hands fumbling for my keys. Who? Did you see who it was? And who called it in?
They did not identify themselves, and they couldn't see much in the dark, but they're sure it was two boys. Could be...
His voice trailed off. We both knew what he didn't say out loud. Another boy's missing in this town. Another one of ours.
"You?"
"I'm on my way," I said, barely hanging up before I picked up my jacket from the table and sprinted out the door. The night was thick, pressing down on me as I drove like a bat out of hell down the winding road. I called up all the units available and told them to meet me there. The farmhouse, located in the town outskirts. A dark shape looming against the night sky. My heart pounded. My thoughts a mess of desperation, rage, hope that I'd finally get to the bottom of this. Shadows clawed at the walls, twisting and stretching as I stepped inside. Gun drawn. The air thick with the stench of blood and rot. A flashlight barely pierced the gloom, catching fragments of old, rusted tools and rotting bales of hay. And then I heard it. A strangled sob, raw and ragged, coming from the far corner. I moved closer, and that's when I saw him. Sam Archer, crouched over a smaller, trembling form. His face was streaked with blood, his hands red and slick, and his eyes empty, cold. A knife glinted in his hand, the edge pressed to the neck of a terrified boy beneath him. "Sam!" I shouted, my voice ringing out, half command, half plea. Sam didn't flinch. He turned to me slowly, his expression distant, twisted smile stretching across his face.
too late, Detective. You're always too late.
He whispered, his voice a hollow, mocking echo in the silence. He pressed the knife closer to the boy's throat, ignoring the tears streaming down his own face. Put the knife down, Sam. Raising my gun, but he just tilted his head like he was listening to some voice only he could hear. His lips twitched, and he looked up at me with a strange, haunted calm.
They told me you'd try to stop me, but you can't.
His voice was barely a whisper. There was a strange, almost reverent look in his eyes.
They're always with me, in the corners, in the dark. They promised they'd stay, Detective. They promised.
He raised the knife. An instinct took over. My finger squeezed the trigger. Sam's body jolted. A dark stain blooming across his chest as he staggered back, the knife slithering from his fingers. But even as he fell, he crawled forward, his blood-stained hand reaching out as if he could still claim his terrified captive. I tackled him, pinning him to the ground. My hand was shaking as he writhed beneath me, his small body trembling, his eyes unfocused and glassy. For a moment, he was silent. I thought maybe, just maybe, it finally stopped him. But then, in a voice barely louder than a breath, began to speak. His words fractured, desperate.
They're coming, Detective.
He murmured, his gaze drifting to some shadowy corner of the barn, his breath rattling in his chest.
They're coming, Detective. They told me everything. I tried to stop. I did. But they wouldn't let me. They told me to bring them here, to keep them safe.
Sam, who told you? I whispered, leaning closer, my pulse hammering. His eyes locked onto mine, the faintest spark of fear flickering there, like he wanted so badly to tell me, to rid himself of whatever horror he was harboring. His lips parted. For a moment, hope flared in me, but then his gaze drifted, his eyes glazing over as his breaths grew shallow.
They're here,
he whispered, his voice choked with a terror that clawed its way into my own bones.
watching, waiting. They're always here.
His hand reached out, clutching at empty air, his body twitching in my grasp. His eyes began to dim, the last spark of life slipping away. His final, shuddering breath, he choked out.
They're here. They're always here.
And then he was gone. And out there, the silence pressing down like a weight, the echo of his final words lingering in the empty air. A bit of chill crept into the barn, gnawing at me, settling deep into my bones. He'd been so close to revealing the truth. But now, with Sam gone, I was left with nothing but shadows and whispers, haunted by the ghost of what I'd almost uncovered. The other officers arrived, the flashing lights casting cold, hollow beams across the empty barn. It felt pointless, futile. They would never find what I was looking for, what Sam had hinted at in his dying words. There were no clues, no leads, just the lingering sense of something dark, something watching, hidden just beyond the reach of the light. As they loaded Sam's body into the van, I caught one last glimpse of his face, frozen in an expression of sheer, unspeakable horror. His eyes wide, staring, as if he could still see them, whatever they were, whatever had forced him into this nightmare. As I stood alone in the barn's shadowed entrance, the wind whispered through the rafters, and for the first time I felt it. Their presence, the cold, oppressive weight lurking just beyond the edges of my vision, like eyes in the dark, always watching. I realized then it hadn't stopped anything. The thing that had driven Sam, that had haunted him, still out there, somewhere in the black corners of Easthaven, waiting. And I was right back where I started. Lost, alone, with nothing but the ghosts of the children I'd failed to save. Deep down, I knew that this nightmare was still far from over.